So I interviewed Dave Zirin, and we was talking about his book about Jim Brown. And Dave was saying how he could have wrote 5 different books about Jim Brown because he led very different lives. You're almost like that in a lot of ways because you worked at Motown, Sony, Miramax, and October Films. You could have wrote a whole book on about the movie studio, a whole book about the
Yeah.
recording industry, right? The ability to do all of that is amazing to me. So being an outsider, watching all this stuff from a pop culture standpoint, what's the similarities and differences between working for a record company and working for a movie studio?
Oh, wow. Kev, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. I'd have to say music was, so you could have a song in the studio, drop it on wax, or even burn a CD, go to the club or go to the station. And if back in the day, if the phones lit up or they rushed to the floor, you knew you had something and you could go finish it and then boom, release it. Um, a movie has more moving parts. It's not as reactionary, meaning you gotta put all your chips on the table. Sure, you can do some focus groups and do some editing, but for the most part, it's made, it's done. And so music was more spontaneous, where cinema had a lot more of a lead time. And I think in some ways it's harder because you don't see the pieces. Like I've been in the studio with a whole lot of artists laying down tracks, and you're sitting there and you're just like, yeah, first there's that beat, and you're like, and then they start dropping on top of that beat, and you feel it. You can feel the goosebumps. You're right there when it happens. With movies, it's like, okay, shoot the scene, add in the music, layer in the sound effects. Like there's all this stuff that has to get stacked, and
Mhm.
you really don't you until it all comes together, and that's a much harder thing to do. So it's a different art form with a different set of disciplines, a lot more money at risk, and so that's what I would say the big difference is on.